All right, welcome to the 100th episode of the Control Room Podcast. I'm here with my guy Ramiro, and we have a special guest, the guy I started this podcast with, making his first appearance on camera. Okay, he got camera.
He was ready. Will the Still, a little ode to Mr. Will Chamberlain.
Okay. Yeah, my Sharpie. A little special for Mike.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hey, right. My Sharpie, man, it was out of ink. So
I'm too lazy.
Looking out, Raffi.
I'm too lazy and don't have the artistic skills for that. So I appreciate you guys.
All right, this is our gift for you, Mike.
Hey, Wilt is my new GOAT.
Stop it.
I learned no.
On, man.
Here we go.
We already starting this off.
I learned some things about him this week. I knew about his exploits, but I hadn't done the math. Let me break it down to you.
All right, break it down.
I mean, this is impressive.
Okay.
All right. He slept with 20,000 women. So he claims. Okay. That means during a course of 40 years, he slept with 1.5 women. Now you say, how did he do that? Well, apparently he liked threesomes, Mike. So he is my new GOAT.
1.5 women a day?
Yeah. Pretty impressive, right, Raffi?
That average is impressive.
Well, you know, NBA players hit the road a lot. So I mean, well, look, that's not where I was hoping to start the show, but hey, it's the 100th episode. So congrats to RIP Wilt. Okay.
That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for.
All right. Well, we know why we're here. There's a lot to talk about. Like I said, it's MJ and Scotty that we got to discuss. There's an OBJ. He just got released. Aaron Rodgers is immunized, but not the way we all think immunization works.
Very clever.
You know, and a lot of other stuff going on in the world of sports. But let's just knock this out. I'm gonna start with Romo because I know what he's gonna try and trigger me. I'm gonna remain calm. I have Raffi here. He's gonna help me. Scottie Pippen had some things to say about Michael Jordan and The Last Dance that don't make any sense to me. But Romo, I'm gonna let you take the floor.
Well, first of all, I'm kind of sad you didn't really acknowledge my tie for the 100th episode.
Oh, is that what that is? That's a tie? Okay.
Sorry about the barbecue stains. The McRib is back. So
okay, makes sense. Okay.
Anyhow, so back to Scottie Pippen, right? We've had this conversation many times, Mike. I don't know why you disrespect Scottie Pippen.
You don't know why?
I mean,
this week didn't explain why I disrespect Scottie Pippen.
He's trying to sell a book, Mike. This is what you do. Nothing personal.
He said Phil was a racist. He said Michael just did the doc to show the new fans that he's better than Bron, even though this footage is from damn near 20 years ago, or is it more than 20 years now? I can't even do the math right now. But
more than 20 years.
Yeah, more than 20 years ago. But this is specifically for LeBron, even though they were already doing this shit. And what else did Scotty say? He just called Michael selfish. And
which is true.
How is Michael selfish? How?
You don't get to be that great without being a little bit selfish, Mike.
I just need an example of how he's being selfish.
Oh, let's see. How about that time on the Dream Team where he basically asked for Isaiah Thomas not to be added to the team, even though Isaiah deserved to be on the team.
Raffi, this is why I like talking to people.
That was a read.
This is why I like talking to people like Romo. Scottie Pippen came out and said he didn't want Isaiah on the team either. The guy you're defending.
I know what I'm up against.
That example.
I know what I'm up against.
Horrible example, right? Yeah.
I know. Hey, I know you guys, grew up drinking Gatorade, wanting to be like Mike.
Okay.
All right. I know what I'm up against.
I'm not cut out for you.
But I know you're not. I know you're not an MJ guy, but I know you're following the story. Like seriously, what's up with Scotty? Like, how do you feel about all the stuff that's been coming out lately?
Are you asking me, Mike?
I'm asking Romo because me and you.
Okay,
you're asking me.
Yeah, I'm asking the anti-Mike guy.
Look, man, Scotty's always been disrespected. I recall when they made the top 50 list, a couple of decades ago, and a lot of people said, "Oh, you shouldn't be on there." This guy's always been disrespected. People act like he didn't contribute to those Bulls championships. I mean, pre-Scotty, Jordan wasn't winning anything. So give the man some credit. That's all I'm saying. Give him some credit.
Rafi, I'm gonna let you go because you know.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try and not go. Okay.
Hold on. I mean, Romo, you're absolutely right in terms of give him credit, but I feel like he's been given credit. I think that, I mean, up until this year, I had no idea Scottie Pippen felt this way. I always felt like he was always given credit, especially with MJ, because anytime Michael Jordan would ever go out and speak, or even during his Hall of Fame speech, what's the first thing Michael Jordan did in his Hall of Fame speech? He got up there, he opened it, he said something along the lines of, you never saw just Michael Jordan, you saw Scottie Pippen out there every time. That was the first person he thanked. So in my eyes, I mean, I can see now how everything's shifted a little bit, and everybody like, Scottie feels the way he does after the documentary. But before all this was up, I always felt like Scottie did get his credit. But the difference is that maybe with this whole LeBron era, and there's always talks about who's the GOAT. Now that talk is out there in comparisons between LeBron and MJ, which is a completely different topic. I'm sure Mike wants to talk about that a lot.
It's irrelevant.
With all that came up, and everybody always asking Scottie Pippen, who you think is the greatest? Do you think LeBron was better? You played with Jordan, blah, blah, blah. He's all like, well, what about me? Why don't people ask how great I was? But I always felt like, and I'll tell you later on how I feel about Scottie's game, I always felt like he did get credit.
Okay, it's my turn. I've already talked to Rafi and a couple people off air, so I'm going to censor it down a bit, okay? Sky's been given credit multiple times, all right? He's playing victim. It's Michael's fault I don't get enough attention. You posed a question who Michael Jordan was before Scottie Pippen. He didn't win a lot, right? It's a 2-year sample size, really. And in 86, Michael Jordan's foot was broken. But who was he before Michael Jordan? Rafi sent me a beautiful clip from Colin Cowherd's show, The Herd. He said, who was Michael Jordan before Scottie Pippen? An All-American in high school, an All-American in college. You know what Colin forgot? He was a gold medalist because he won the Olympic gold with the U.S. team in '84. He was a scoring champion, and he had dropped 63 points on Larry Bird's championship Celtics team.
Dunk contest champion.
Okay, so that's who he was already established in the league. Now, let me ask you, Romo, the question. Who was Scottie Pippen before MJ, and who was Scottie Pippen after MJ? Please list his accomplishments.
Well, if you recall correctly, the year that Jordan stepped away to play baseball, the Bulls fared pretty good in the regular season, okay, record-wise. However, when they got to the playoffs, it was obvious that they missed Jordan. Well, there's a reason for that. That whole offense revolved around Jordan. So it was too much to ask for Pippen to take that role, and have the same success that Jordan had, obviously, with the Bulls. But he still fared well. I mean, relatively well. So
if you're a championship team and you win 3 straight championships and then the next year you lose in the second round, that's good.
Look, that might seem like a failure, for the Bulls, for the Bulls dynasty era.
Rafi, I got him.
When you think about it in terms of what he accomplished.
Hold on. Let me get him real quick. You're a Laker fan, right?
Of course.
Is it championship or bust?
Every year.
Is it championship or bust? Okay. All right. Rafi, you can go.
Does that answer your question?
You can go. Okay. You can
Love that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Roma, obviously, I'm a huge Lakers fan as well. It's weird because a lot of Michael Jordan fans, let me backtrack. A lot of Laker fans actually don't like Michael Jordan. And the reason for that is because, he'd always beat the Lakers in the early 90s.
91.
He beat the Lakers then. And then anytime he'd come around after that, all those years, he just spanked the Lakers.
Kicking them in the ass.
It was always a Jordan show. But, I'm a big fan of basketball. I just love the game. I've always loved the game. But why don't we talk about Scottie Pippen's game real quick?
Sure.
I think he deserves that. I think we can just talk about how great of a player he was. In my opinion, I always tell Mike this, I feel like Scottie Pippen, if not the best, one of the best defenders that we've seen in the forward position. He shut down Magic Johnson. Not shut down, but he limited Magic Johnson during that run. And he did a lot of work on the team. He hustled. He scored when needed to, but that wasn't his primary duty. But he did a lot of other things. Mainly was defense, and his game complemented Michael Jordan beautifully. And just on a basketball standpoint, that was really nice to see as a fan. He's never going to be considered a top great player because he didn't lead the team, but his role is just as hard as any other player. He had a very hard role, as a Robin to Batman. He had a really hard role. So I feel like he did an amazing job at that. I just don't know where it went wrong over the years. Obviously, there was other, off the court drama going on, but on the court, it was beautiful to see those two just unstoppable. Especially, that the story we heard in the documentary about when they each wanted to guard Tony Kukoc in the Olympics. You guys remember that?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's like what you want out of the team. It's like, no, let me guard him. No, let me guard him. Let me show him who's better. That attitude barely exists nowadays. And if it does, it's not at that par of basketball that we used to watch,
Yeah. Yeah.
Roma,
Was this the
what do you think?
documentary you had a cameo in, Raffi?
It was. Actually,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You're going Hollywood on us, man. There it is.
there it is.
There it is.
It's on,
Look at that.
Look at
this
the
is
joy.
on, where's this?
There he is. How
Clipper,
old were
it's a
you right
Clipper.
there,
Hey, it's a
Raffi?
Clipper game,
How-
by the way.
How
I
old
know
were
it is.
you?
It's a Clipper game. My wife made this for me, by the way. She's amazing.
Oh,
Hey,
But
how
yeah.
old were you, Raffi?
I was probably I don't know, 11 or 12. 13.
No,
That's-
12.
that's
12.
awesome.
If
12
it
years
was
old.
98, then we're 12.
Yeah, but it
That's
was really
cool,
cool,
man.
man. It was literally a 1 second. I don't know how one of my friends saw it. It was really fun. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, look, speaking of the documentary, I heard that Michael Jordan got paid, but nobody else got paid.
We're gonna
So
pause.
Scotty,
we're gonna
so
pause.
just
on
another
that.
example of MJ selfishness.
We're
So-
gonna pause on that because I first off, there's no way to verify that. Two, can you answer Rafi's question about Scotty's game? Like, what did you think about his game?
No,
Yeah,
look,
what is
I think Scotty gave. I mean, Raffi gave Scotty some love. I mean, Scottie Pippen was ahead of his time. After him, we saw guys like Grant Hill come along, T-Mac. Long, lean, great two-way players.
Yeah.
So Scotty, in many ways, he was a pioneer. So I'm just saying, give the man his due respect. That's all I'm saying.
So him being on the dream team, is that giving Scotty his respect? How about him being the top 50 players of all
He
time?
deserved to be
So,
on
but
there.
you keep saying give Scotty his respect, like Rafi stated. Scotty's been getting his respect
Yeah,
all
but not
these
enough.
years. It's
Not
not.
enough.
Why not? What's enough?
Like I mentioned, man, he was a pioneer in many respects.
What are we
We
not
hadn't
doing?
seen a guy like Scotty. We hadn't seen a guy do the things Scotty did,
But
before Scotty.
why does that fall on Michael Jordan though? Why is it Michael Jordan's all of a sudden? Why is that falling on Michael Jordan's back that Scotty's not getting his due? Why isn't it the media? Why isn't it the people who come up with these standings? Why is it on Michael Jordan's back? What did he do? Michael Jordan was just trying to win at all costs.
Well, obviously, it's a symbiotic relationship. Like you said, it was Batman and Robin. And I don't think Scotty's disputing the fact that he was Robin. I just think that he's a little upset that he never gets the respect that he deserved. That's all.
But you keep saying he's not getting respect. And I said the man's on a top 50 team all time. He was on
As he
Dream.
should be.
He's on Dream Team 1, and I
As he
believe he
should
was on
be.
Dream Team 2. So what respect is he not getting?
Yeah, how?
When people talk about that Bulls dynasty, it's always all about MJ,
Oh wait.
and Scotty's always an afterthought.
It's always
Always.
MJ and Scotty. It's always MJ and Scotty.
Whoa. Sorry, so should we talk about Scotty before we talk about Mike?
No, I think you talk about them equally. Just like you talk
Whoa.
about, just like you would talk. No.
Mike,
listen,
you do what you said. What is
Listen,
it? Mike, I
listen,
missed that one.
He
Look,
said we should
this
talk
is
about
my
Michael
problem.
and Scotty.
This is my problem with Bulls fans.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
As a Laker fan,
Yeah.
I compliment Shaq as well as Kobe because I understand it's a symbiotic relationship.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
to exclude Scotty, it's a disrespect.
Hold on, but Shaq was the MVP of the league, though. Shaq led, and he was also the MVP of the finals and finals MVP.
Yeah.
3 straight years.
Yeah, but all that
that's
stuff
because-
is subjective.
But that's
All those
because
awards and all that,
played-
that's subjective.
he played better than Kobe at some point because that's what he deserved to be the MVP. I don't remember the last time Scotty has ever played better than Jordan.
So let me get this right.
He just had a different role.
Scotty
He had
and
a
Mike
different role.
are equals, Romo?
Scotty brought a lot to the table. That's all I'm saying.
I just would love it. I would just love a
agree.
straight
That's all I'm
answer. The Mike and Scotty are equals.
Of course, they're not equals.
So
I mean,
why
we
are
all
we
know
gonna
that.
talk? Why are we gonna talk about them like they're equals?
But he's also, come on, man. Like, you guys talk about Scotty like he's John Paxson or something.
Okay,
No
I'm
way.
going. I'm
No
going.
way.
Well, no. Rafi doesn't. Rafi's a fan
Not
of
me.
Scotty. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are fans of Scotty. Guess what? I'm not a fan of Scotty. Okay, because in 1990 when he had the migraine.
Mike,
he
I have a
left-
question for
See,
you.
it's
Can
personal.
I go? Can I go?
Hold on. Are you not a fan of Scottie Pippen, the basketball player, or are you not a fan of Scottie Pippen, the person?
Both.
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 Okay, please explain.
I'll give Scotty this. Scotty did something that's very hard, and he took a secondary role his whole career. And a lot of people, it's hard for them to swallow their ego long enough to have that type of success. But you see in the documentary, Scotty had moments where his ego slipped out. 94, when Phil called to play for Kukoc and he sat out. 98, when he delayed his surgery because he felt like he was being underpaid. There were moments Scotty kind of bucked, but then eventually he came back to the team. Remember, Bill Cartwright was crying in the locker room because of the way Scottie Pippen was behaving because he abandoned his team. So when people try and demonize Mike and pretend like Scotty's an angel, like they need to actually look at both sides. But in my opinion, Scottie Pippen is not a top 50 player of all time. He might be top 75. If this man was not attached to Michael Jordan's legacy his entire career, you know who he would be? He'd be Andre Iguodala. Okay? You know what? Andre Iguodala was in the Sixers for the Denver, and he was okay, but then he got with the Warriors, and he got finals MVP for guarding LeBron, kind of like how Pippen guarded Magic, and that's how he got his acclaim. That's who I see Scottie Pippen is. As if you put Tracy McGrady next to Michael Jordan, what happens? You put Grant Hill next to Michael Jordan, what happens?
See, so
To be
you've
honest,
already established that it's personal.
This
You know, this is what we talked about last week. You know, regarding Dwight Howard, how he was left off the 75.
I would put Dwight Howard on.
ahead of Pippen?
So it's
No,
about
I wouldn't say
likability
ahead of
now.
Pippen. I would put Dwight Howard on.
Mike, let me ask you a question. So should it be about likability or if a player is deserving or not? Because on that list, okay, I'll give you another example, right?
Mm-hmm.
That list that got released last week, the top 75. They had how do you leave Kyrie Irving off and put Dame Lillard on there when Kyrie Irving has won a championship? I mean,
well, so that's
it shouldn't be about likability.
See, that's where I don't love that argument. Like, one, I do think Kyrie should be on, but it can't be because of the championship. Because Kyrie got to play with LeBron, Dame plays with CJ McCollum in the Western Conference.
But you yourself said many times that Kyrie Irving was crucial to win that championship.
Of course. But I'm saying that
shot, right?
I'm saying that championship argument is Scotty's legacy. Because he has 6 rings. Well, he has 6 rings. Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady, Paul Pierce, Carmelo Anthony, all these other great small forwards who didn't get to play with the GOAT, or at least the GOAT of their era. Guess what? Look at Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and all their championship rings because they're playing with Tim Duncan. And KG is over there in Minnesota playing with Wally Zerbiak and Latrell Sprewell. And his 1 ring is when he plays with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. So when you talk about individual award, you got to look at the player, and the team accomplishments are into it, but that's not the defining reason. So my point is with Scotty, when he played without MJ, lost in the second round. Okay.
Look,
then he goes to Houston. He goes to Houston, plays with Elijah Wan and Barkley. That doesn't work out. Then he goes to Portland. Who's he lose to? Kobe and Shaq, when they're up 13 points in the fourth quarter in 2000. So he didn't really do anything after Mike. So that's what I'm saying. If you look at Scottie Pippen himself, it's 6 championships. He's first team all defense for like a decade straight. Rafi, he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time. But if you just look at him, he personally doesn't stand out greater than other players, in my opinion.
I guess I get where you're coming from. He doesn't. That's true. Individually, he doesn't. But as far as a complementary player, I don't think that if you put any of those guys you mentioned with Jordan, I don't necessarily feel like it would have been better than Pippen and Jordan. I don't necessarily think that. because it takes a different type of basketball player to be with a guy like Jordan. And I actually think that they would have bumped heads more than anything. But I get where you're coming from individually. I get where you're coming from. But I'm just talking more of like what's better for the team. And I feel like Pippen on that team would have been better than Grant Hill or Tracy McGrady or Kevin Durant, stuff like that.
Yeah, Raffi makes a great point, because the disrespect comes in when you say that you can just swap Scotty for T-Mac or Grant Hill and that you would have pretty much the same results. That's disrespecting Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, I agree. I
How?
would agree with Romo.
T-Mac and Grant Hill weren't great. Small. Did you not say Grant Hill was Scottie Pippen 2.0?
Yes.
And Tracy McGrady?
They're ballers.
But
Absolutely.
there wouldn't be, exactly. You're making my point for me. There wouldn't be a Grant Hill or a T-Mac if it wasn't for Scotty. Scotty was the pioneer of that type of that prototype.
Both of those guys aren't in the top 75. One, because they both got injured. They were injury prone. But two, they don't have that championship legacy attached to their name because Tracy McGrady got drafted to the Toronto Raptors. And then he went to the Orlando Magic and Grant Hill got hurt. Scottie Pippen goes to Toronto Raptors and then goes to the Orlando Magic and the star player gets hurt. Is he the same guy?
Don't get me wrong; those guys are great players. No one's saying that they're not great players. They probably deserve to be on that top 75 list. I mean, if we remove all the slow white guys that can't jump, they're on that list. By the way, I caught a lot of heat. I caught a lot of heat during the week, because people said, "Oh man, you didn't mention Jerry West." Come on, that goes without saying. He's the logo. All right, that's one white guy that deserves to be on there.
Jerry West, Larry Legend.
And people came at me because I didn't mention Pistol Pete. Come on, Pistol Pete deserves to be on there, of course.
Does he? I heard his. I heard his.
Absolutely.
I heard he didn't win a lot. I don't really know his stats like that.
Look up his stats. Look up his stats, Mike.
Okay.
And just watch highlights. And
look up stats and watch highlights. All right.
But you know what? my biggest beef was the fact that Pau Gasol was not on that list. Because this is exactly this relates to what we're talking about. If it wasn't for Pau Gasol, as much as we all love Kobe, and Kobe himself, I remember, before he passed, there was an interview I saw that he said, if it wasn't for Pau Gasol, they wouldn't have won those 2 championships.
I would agree.
Pau Gasol needs to be on that top 75 list.
Yeah,
Pau
Gasol, I would completely agree with you. I think Pau Gasol is one of my favorite. Actually, I love watching Pau Gasol. He was smart on the court, which at that height, at that position, basketball IQ is usually not as high as his. They're usually like defenders. They're usually big men, grab boards, dunk. But he actually was really smart on the court.
Great IQ, great passer.
Yeah, exactly. And I would completely agree with you. He deserves to be on that. We don't win those 2 titles without Pau Gasol.
And Pau had the same thing Scotty had, to where he could swallow his ego and be number 2 and defer. And I think you are disrespecting guys like T-Mac, Grant Hill, and the ones who came, because
I think they're great players.
No. What I'm saying you're saying they would have butt heads with Mike. But understand, if they're the young guy coming in and Mike is established, they're going to fall under the pecking order. So that's exactly what Scotty did. Scotty came in. If you watch the doc, I think when Scotty was drafted, he thought he was going to be better than Mike. And then I don't know about that.
I'll
find that for you.
I will tell you this. When Grant Hill came in the league out of Duke, there was talk about him being the second coming.
Next Jordan.
So how do you think, given MJ's ego, how do you think MJ would have felt about Grant Hill coming on board to the Bulls with all this talk about being the next MJ? How do you think
his attitude would have been, prove it, show me you're better than me?
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I love about people like Romo who think, like Michael doesn't like to play with people who's difficult with him. Didn't Dennis Rodman play for a team called the Bad Boys? Wasn't there something called the Jordan Rules when they used to beat the shit out of Jordan? They threw Scottie Pippen into the stands. And who was recruiting Dennis to the Bulls? In the documentary, in '98, when Scottie decided, hey, I'm not going to show up, who was Michael? Hey, Dennis, I need you. Hey, it's me and you. So if he can play with a guy like Dennis Rodman, who is known to be a little reckless on and off the court,
A little
I
bit.
feel like
bit.
he can maybe work with a Tracy McGrady or a Grant Hill. But look, Scotty's top 75. I think he was a beautiful compliment to MJ, but it shows holding his ego in for years is coming out now.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
And one thing I want to add is that I do like how this whole thing was shot down pretty fast with most of the media that we
I'm
watch.
so proud.
Like
I'm so proud of the media.
ESPN, FSN.
ESPN, I'm back.
Mike's
I'm
back,
back,
all of a
baby.
sudden. Last week, like 2 weeks ago, he's like, Raffi, these guys, they don't even know what they're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. I don't listen to anybody anymore. Now he's back on it because you know what? Because he's run, like they need to point out when things are obviously happening for different reasons and it's just not true. Everybody stepped up and everybody basically, except for some of the LeBron group guys.
Now, be careful there, Raffi. Be careful.
Which I'll let Mike talk more about. But for the most part,
It's mostly Romo. It's mostly Romo.
Don't you disrespect the Wash King.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, well that segment went way longer than I thought it was going to go,
Yeah.
but it was. I think it was fun. It's an honest discussion.
It was.
Let's move on to something else in the.
Before,
basketball.
real quick, sorry, since we're talking about MJ, I really think that Mike, you should do have the MJ versus Magic comparison episodes one day.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and call out Ryan, your friend Ryan.
Ryan does not want.
I'm gonna call him
fired.
out. Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson, and then maybe Romo. I know you're a huge LeBron fan. Michael Jordan versus LeBron episodes. Those need to happen.
First off,
Okay.
Raffi, you ain't tired of Ryan in the group chat already? You ain't heard enough. You ain't heard enough.
So that let's puts it on the record.
I'm down.
And then Romo about the MJ and LeBron. Mike, you need to have those specific those episodes. That's just my opinion, though.
He's not even a LeBron fan. He's just trolling me. That's the thing. He
Hey,
don't believe in LeBron.
Can we hold on with that discussion when LeBron wins this next championship?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's
sure.
okay. Change anything, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. But shoot, man, actually, we only got like 10 minutes left. Let's talk about real quick, Aaron Rodgers. What the fuck's going on with that guy?
See, okay, this is the inequality of media, right? So Cam Newton got dragged, right? If I recall, he got dragged for not being vaccinated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Aaron Rodgers, in a very clever way, if you watch that press conference where he was asked if he was vaccinated or not, he said he was immunized. It's very lawyer-like.
Very misleading.
Very misleading. But technically, he wasn't lying because apparently he had the antibodies. So it was a very clever way to kind of deflect the question and make it appear like he was vaccinated to kind of get the media off his back. It was very smart, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's jeopardizing his teammates. I would say his family, but by all accounts, he doesn't really talk to his family.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's very selfish. It's very selfish. I mean, what more can you say about it? It's just selfish, man. And I think he deserves a suspension, a lengthy suspension. Even though he's my fantasy football quarterback, I think he might get a lengthy suspension for this.
Raffi, what you think? He's your fantasy quarterback too.
I completely agree. Actually, when Romo, you drafted him, I was really upset. Yeah.
Well, you were busy drafting tight ends, man.
I know. I have all the tight ends in the league, but that's right there. So I would completely agree with everything Romo said. I think this is a very serious issue. Like, it's changed a lot of things in this world, a lot of people's lives it's affected. It's not a joke. It's not something to lie about. And, we always talk about Kyrie Irving too, how much crap he's getting for not getting vaccinated. It's a personal choice. And you know what? He's not hiding behind that either. So I compared those two and I feel like, man, I loved Aaron Rodgers as the guy, as the player. And now after what happened, he did kind of drop down a little bit in my book. And he needs to explain himself, what he meant by that in public. He needs to tell us, his fans and just everybody else, what he meant and why he said it And then I agree with the suspension too. I see that should be fine.
Yeah, just very
Yeah.
irresponsible, man.
Yeah,
Like,
Responsible, yeah.
hanging out Halloween dressed as what was the Keanu Reeves movie?
Yeah, he was dressed as John
John
Wick,
Wick.
and he was
Yeah.
also holding press conferences in person. And if you're not vaccinated, it's supposed to be virtually. So yeah, man, Aaron Rodgers is one of those people who are just like, he thinks he's the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
And when you're rich
This is
and
Cal
famous
Berkeley.
and you're talented, you do this, you do stupid shit. And thankfully he's getting called out for it. But moving on, because we only have a few minutes left, is Odell Beckham Jr. is now a free agent. Okay. Didn't work out between him and Baker. Odell's dad came out and made a low light tape of Baker missing his son when he's wide open. So
like 15 minutes long, man. Like,
right,
really, Dad? Really?
Did you see that, Rafi?
I didn't see it. I just heard, and I also heard about free OBJ that LeBron tweeted. LeBron got involved in that.
Oh yeah, LeBron.
Look,
LeBron's got to stick his nose in it.
LeBron
right?
is so powerful, he can get guys traded in other sports.
But that's a big problem, though. I know this is not about LeBron at all. It's about OBJ. But I just wanted to say that, sometimes he does stick his nose in a lot of places.
Sometimes.
I'm just saying. But besides that, yeah, I mean, I just hope he's such a great receiver. He's such a great receiver. He deserves to be like Antonio Brown got another chance with Tom Brady. He already got a Super Bowl ring. Now he's injured, but he's getting another chance to prove himself. I feel like OBJ also deserves that.
I can even go as far back as to Randy Moss with the Raiders, and everybody thought he was washed up. And then guess what? He goes to play with Tom Brady. It's ironically, it's Tom Brady again in New England, and he breaks Jerry Rice's touchdown record. So quarterback, as a receiver, you're reliant on your QB.
But all wide receivers are prima donnas, Mike. You know this. What receiver is never open? Every receiver in the NFL is open. They'll go back to the quarterback and tell him, "Hey, man, I was open."
So are you team Baker?
Look, no, I'm team nobody.
Okay.
I mean,
okay. I'm like, look, Odell Beckham Jr. went from being one of the top 5 receivers in the league to getting 1 target for 6 yards for the Browns. Like,
hey, man, look, he signed there. I mean, so where's he going to go now? Is he going to go to New Orleans with Taysom Hill throwing ducks at him? Good luck. Is he going to go to the Raiders?
I've heard Raiders. I've heard Packers. I've heard Kansas City. So I think he would do pretty well in those 3
But where
spots.
do we draw the line, guys? Where do we draw the line with players who are just not happy? Like you see the situation at the 76ers with
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Ben Simmons. I mean, I know it's completely different, but where do we draw the line and just say, like, dude, like, you're getting paid millions of money. You're a great player. Just go out there and produce. We have to also like talk about that too. Like players do whine a lot these days than before. And yeah, sometimes they do have the right, but a lot of times just like it's part of the game now. Go out there and play.
Yeah, Ben Simmons is making an ass of himself.
Kyrie for Ben Simmons and get it over with, man.
Yeah,
those 2 guys.
Ben Simmons isn't cooperating with Philadelphia right now when it comes to his mental health. And I really hope he wasn't using that as a smokescreen, because that's disrespectful to anybody who actually does suffer from mental health issues. But like, I think he's full of shit, but that's just my personal opinion. When it comes to Odell, like the Browns cut him. Like that wasn't even him. Yeah. That was the organization's decision to let him go. And in football, if you played football, like you can design. Look at Green Bay and Devontae Adams. They make sure to get that man that ball 15 times a game.
Yeah.
All right. Like you can design plays to get get the hand in your best players, your playmakers' hands. They just don't do it for OBJ. So if you're not going to use him, let him go. So I hope he does well, and we'll see what Baker does without him.
We'll see where he ends up.
Jarvis Landry's going to get a lot of targets now.
Jarvis and Peoples Jones and whoever else.
Yeah, whoever else.
And Raffi, don't be trying to throw no trades for Nick Chubb, okay? Because it's going back to the run game, baby.
We'll see.
He's got a chubby for Nick Chubb.
I got him. Just anyways, I'll shoot you later. Yeah, I got him in the league already right away.
Yeah. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. The only other weird thing I saw was Darren Williams is going to fight Frank Gore in the Jake Paul Tyson Fury undercard. Look, I'm into it.
See what happened to Nate Robinson?
They're both former athletes.
Okay, Frank Gore is gonna eat him alive.
You think so?
I think if they're gonna actually fight, they're
gonna fight.
Frank Gore, I don't know, man. But Darren Williams did look a little stocky. I didn't
He's
know.
always been stocky.
Yeah, he's been stocky.
Okay.
I'm
okay.
always down to see if matches like that. But by the way, this weekend there's a huge boxing match too.
Who's fighting this weekend?
Canelo and
Caleb Plant.
Caleb Plant. Yeah, that's going to be another huge fight this weekend.
Who you guys got in that?
Canelo, man.
Canelo, absolutely.
My hometown, man.
Okay. What's your hometown?
Jalisco.
Okay.
Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Nice.
Well,
nice.
I'm not gonna not give my boy Tyson Fury a shout out because everybody knows I'm a Love Island fanatic. Okay, Tyson Fury is going to end Jake Paul's streak. I don't know when this fight is, but I'm ready for it.
You buying the pay-per-view, huh, Mike?
I'm gonna get this one.
Hey, man, I got the NBA League Pass just to watch my new favorite team, the Charlotte Hornets, baby.
Oh, you supporting MJ? I love it.
It's all about LaMelo, Miles Bridges, and look, man, they have one of the only Mexican American coaches.
How
Jesse
can I
Borrego.
forget? How can I forget to bring up the Lakers loss to OKC again? Can
Oh,
you
let's
not
end the
see?
show.
Can Russ?
the show.
Did Russ not see Melo was on fire?
Oh, well, you look at the time.
Did he not see that? When he just threw the ball out of bounds? Oh, you got. Is it time?
Man.
It's time, guys. Okay, I just had to get that in. Well, actually, we got a minute left. Thank you, Zoom, for getting ready to kick us off.
Can I give a shout out to some of our just
Go
great
ahead.
listeners?
We
man.
got 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Coastal Bros, they support the pod, man. They always support the pod.
Okay.
Danny and Joey. Our boy Danny actually gave us some feedback on his top 5. I don't know if I have time to mention it. He wanted me to mention his top 5.
We'll get it next time.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Danny, I got you next time, man. I'll mention the top 5.
Like
I love
said,
what you do with your daughter and the weekly NFL picks, by the way.
I saw that. That was cute too. Like I say, shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Duran. I couldn't have you on for this MJ stuff because the shit would have never ended. Rafi, day one, had to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you. Honor to be on here. And how about a shout out to you, Mike, for doing this for 100 episodes, man?
Oh, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Man.
Keep it going.